Hi everyone. I apologize for the awkward lighting, but it's how you roll in higher ed. Fluorescent lights. Okay, so the purpose of this week, or this video I should say, is to introduce you to Unit 2. We're starting Unit 2 this week. And really what's going to happen from here through October 29th, when our midterm is due, is I'm going to begin to scaffold things into our coursework that are going to help you complete your community analysis. So what I've been working on is getting together the assignment sheet, the full assignment sheet for our community analysis. At the time of recording this video, I don't have that yet, but that's okay because I'm going to talk to you now about what everything is going to include, and then I want to talk to you about how that relates to our work this week with selection and acquisitions, and how our assignments for this unit, the next 2 weeks, relate back to the community analysis. So with the community analysis, this week you guys are going to select the library that you want to work on. So no duplicate libraries. I have a discussion board thread going where you can post your library and the requirements that your library needs to fulfill in order for it to be usable for the community analysis. So within that discussion thread, you're going to post the library you want to work on along with a link to their collection development policy. So with the community analysis, ultimately what you're going to do is you're going to be writing a persuasive report, and we're going to use LibGuides. Don't worry, we're going to get there. But really, you want to truly study this library and study that library's community and study that library's collection to kind of determine what new resources you might want to recommend. So part 1 of the community analysis will be a narrative description of the community. So you're going to talk about things like demographics, what that community looks like. Part 2 of the community analysis will be a narrative description of the library. So statistics about the library, statistics about the library's collection, and a link to the collection development policy. And these are the things that we're going to start building out over the next several weeks. And then part 3 is where you're going to identify any gaps or needs or changes that you see in the collection. And that's where you're gonna write kind of like a persuasive proposal, drawing on your community research to kind of fill those gaps. So what changes do you see that need to be made? And this is all going to be done in context of that library's collection development policy. So the final piece of the community analysis is that you're going to recommend those resources. You're going to recommend resources to fill that gap. And that means you'll be using some selection tools to select those resources. And I will give you criteria within the written assignment. It's not something to worry about too much at this point because we still have some work to do ahead of us. But just knowing that the ultimate goal is that you will be given a budget and you'll want to determine what materials you want to add to the collection. And I'll ask you to provide me things like an annotation from a review source, the reason that you're adding it, and how much that costs so that you can keep an eye on your budget. Okay, so that's kind of an overview of the entire community analysis project that we're working towards for our midterm, and that one's due on October 29th. But this week we're going to work on selection, and next week we're working on acquisitions. So in our course assignment list, I had listed our unit assignment as selection and community analysis library selection. I decided to break that up into 2 parts just to give you guys a little bit more time because we kind of had the weird holiday thing at the beginning of the week and kind of left over from our Unit 1 assignment due that Friday. So I just broke it up into 2 parts to give you guys some more time. And really, like I was saying, this is all now about building the skills and building up the resources to be able to execute on your community analysis. So, this week, Keeler talks a lot about the things to consider when selecting materials, right? So we have our user's need, the subject matter, our author's reputation, and the demand, which is all of our community demographics. So part 1 of our selection and community assessment assignment is you really taking a look at the community for the library that you have selected for your community analysis. And what you're going to do is you're going to assess that community's demographics. So I've provided you a list of resources that will give you demographic information, and I've asked you to take a look at certain statistics for your community and to plug those statistics in. And what I want you to do after you gather all those statistics, take a look at it and try to decide, consider what do you think is unique about the community that your library serves? What makes them different? And what their demographics might mean about what they want out of a collection. So for example, if you notice that your community has a 52% Spanish-speaking population, maybe that signifies to you that, hey, I need to have Spanish language books in my collection. How is that looking? Or maybe I need English as a second language or English language learning materials in my collection as well. So all of this is in Blackboard, but I kind of just want to lay things out for you. So that's part 1 of the assignment, and that is the piece that's going to be due on September 10th. So part 2 of that assignment is then looking at a few selection tools, because Keeler also talks a lot this week about selection tools. And what I want you to do is I've listed 3 selection tools that we have available through the CLC library. So we have Library Journal, Book List, and Publishers Weekly. So you're going to look at those 3 selection tools. And what I want you to do is identify and review the selection criteria from your library's collection development policy. Put that into a working document, review that, kind of understand what those criteria are. And then consider what you found about your library's population from part 1 of this assignment. So consider those statistics, consider those demographics, and consider, kind of what you summarized and what conclusions you drew about your community. And then using those selection tools, I want you to pick 1 book to add to the collection. And I give you some criteria that you need to tell me about that book, and I ask you to give me, kind of your thought process behind why you would add that book to that collection. So really, this is the legwork for the very first part of your midterm